What's up, boys? It's your boy Trippy. And so, if you guys want your questions featured in the next podcast, I know I sound like a broken record at this point, but if you guys want your comments and questions featured in the next podcast, leave your questions under this podcast. I will like your comment, and that's the way that you will know if your question will be answered. And then I'll answer it on the next podcast. And really, typically, I answer everybody's question, man. Unless it's something weird, like, or anything political, or anything just inappropriate. And when I say inappropriate, like sexual, or just, weird. That's the only time I won't answer the question. And yes, that includes what's going on in Russia and in the Ukraine right now. All I can say is all I can do is just send my prayers to the Ukraine right now. That's all I can say. But typically I like to keep it positive and I like to keep it MMA related. So, anyways, with that being said, another thing that we're not going to spend too much time on is, the fight last night. So I already kind of broke it down. But if you guys want to hear me talk more in depth about Islam Makhachev and his title shot chances, whatever you want to call it, I made a video on it last night. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out. But anyway, yeah, the fight went just about as well as I thought it was, honestly. I knew that Bobby Green wasn't going to be able to stop the wrestling of Islam Makhachev. I seen people talking in the MMA community bubble, and they were like, oh my gosh, the 160 pounds, and Bobby Green may be strong enough, he doesn't have to cut all his weight, etc., etc. He may be strong enough to stop the takedowns of Islam. And, okay, I get it, but at the same time, no. It just sounded like a bunch of delusion. I understand a lot of people wanted Bobby Green to win, me included. I really wanted Bobby Green to sleep Islam Makhachev, dude. But I knew that it wasn't going to happen. I know this is a skill-based game, and I know who had the better skill. And it went literally about the way that I thought it was. I thought that Islam was going to take Bobby Green down immediately and submit him, but he ended up TKOing him. And I seen a lot of people were like, early stoppage. I was like, early stoppage? Are you serious? Look, I get it. Seeing Islam lose is kind of like... Floyd Mayweather said this best, because it's about Gervonta Tank Davis. People were upset with the decision in Gervonta Tank Davis's last fight. A lot of people thought that Isaac Cruz won, but Floyd Mayweather said it best. He says, people want to see Tank lose because it's like me losing. That's the same thing with Islam Makhachev. People want to see Makhachev lose because it's like seeing Khabib lose, and I get that. But at the same time... Dude, like I said, Charles Oliveira is probably the only guy to stop this man. And real quick, if I sound weird in my videos lately, my braces have been tightened. They just got tightened this last week, and it's really bugging my mouth, man. So if it sounds like I'm slurring my words or I just sound weird, that's why. But anyway, let's stay on topic. So, like I said, Charles Oliveira, man, is probably the only guy to beat him. And when I say that, I don't say that other guys don't have chances to beat him. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, in my opinion, he has the best shot because he's the only guy who could possibly end up submitting Islam Makhachev. If Islam Makhachev makes a mistake, Charles Oliveira is the main guy who can capitalize on Islam Makhachev's mistake, And it's just like, if Islam doesn't want to play the ground game with Charles, maybe he's not confident enough in his style to take Charles to the ground and do his work without getting submitted, then, he would have to stand and bang it out on the feet, and I think he would clearly lose that. And a lot of people are like, oh, I actually think that Charles's chances against Islam on the feet is very low. I think Islam can beat Charles on the feet, or at least like beat him on the feet. I'm like, dude, do you know the sport? And I get it. Islam is a better striker than Khabib. He is. He's not a bad striker. If I had to grade him, if I give McGregor, Bobby Green, Dustin Poirier, these guys, if I give them A tier, A minus tier striking, McGregor's A plus tier, but if I give Poirier, Bobby Green, these type of guys, Rafael Fiziev, he's A tier, A plus tier, but I mean, you get it. I give Islam Makhachev probably B tier level striking, you know what I mean? I put him in that same category as kind of like Tony Ferguson. You know what I mean? He can strike on the feet, but it's not his main weapon. You know what I mean? So, yes, I think that he would lose to Charles. I don't rank Charles as an A-tier striker anyways. I just think that Charles is a better striker than Islam. Charles is a good striker, but I don't think that he's I think he's too hittable, man. I really do. I think that he's too offensive based. He's not very defensive. So, for me to give him A tier. So, anyways. So, yeah. If he stands on the feet with Charles, eventually he'll start getting picked apart. If he tries to take Charles down, which I really do think he will, I don't see him trying to just stand up and strike with Charles. That's just not him. I think he will eventually try to take it to the ground and control Charles on the ground. And that is the most I can see him doing, is controlling Charles. Him pounding him out and doing all this crazy stuff, I'd be really shocked if he did that to Charles. But at the same time, it's more likely than him submitting him. If they fight and the fight goes to the ground, I see Islam winning by a decision. You know what I mean? Just taking Charles down and controlling him. Honestly, being a boring fight. I don't think that Islam will be able to advance position and, get in a half guard and then cross over to full guard to full mount and then start pounding away at Charles. I don't think that he is that. I think we're giving him too much credit if you guys really think that could happen. But I wouldn't be shocked if because Charles does make mistakes on the ground. We've seen it against Kevin Lee, and Kevin Lee himself makes mistakes on the ground, but he was able to capitalize off of Charles's mistakes. He ultimately ended up losing that fight anyways, but you get what I mean. If Charles goes submission crazy and then just starts throwing things at the wall and hoping it sticks, then yeah, Islam could probably pound him out. Then I could see it. Or even potentially submit Charles. Then I could kind of see it. But Charles, if he plays it safe, he's just either going to get controlled or he's going to be able to stand back up. That's just how I see it. You know what I mean? Gas tank wise, I really underestimated the gas tank ability of Charles Oliveira. I really thought that Dustin was going to be able to get him tired and then just start beating him up. But no, it was reversed. Charles got Dustin tired and ended up submitting him. The reason why Charles was able to take Dustin's back so easily is that Dustin was a bit winded. And that was crazy for me. I was like, man, I really underestimated Charles' gas tank. And I will never underestimate Charles Oliveira again after that. Now, anyways, a lot of people say that Justin Gaethje has a better shot at beating Islam than Charles does. I can kind of get it, but at the same time, no. Because it doesn't make sense to me. The same guys that are saying this is the same guys that are picking Charles to beat Gaethje. If anything, I think Islam has a better shot of beating Gaethje than Charles does. Gaethje is Charles's nightmare matchup, not the other way around. So I think that Islam would have a easier chance with Justin than he would with Charles. Why? Because we've seen Justin's ground game. It literally will take him seconds. If Justin gets his back taken or he gets his back put on the canvas in the first round, it's going to be over faster than the Dan Hooker fight. Because Justin has zero defensive jiu-jitsu. Good wrestling, but he does that American-style wrestling scrambling where he goes to all fours. That is going to get his back taken against both of these guys. So, Justin has the power, yeah, but whenever you make Justin fight at a pace that he's not used to, he starts winging haymakers and throwing 100% into his shots, and he gets tired, and then the takedown gets literally, and with Islam being a better striker than Khabib is, I think that Islam would have an easier task with Justin than he would with Charles. I know that's crazy, and I know that people are going to be disagreeing with me in the comments. That's just how I see it. But we're moving on. And now that I'm on it, actually, I feel like the other thing that's making me slur my words is that they put these little dividers, these rubber bands in the back of my molars, and they're like in my gums, and I can't close my mouth all the way. I'm assuming that's probably why I'm also slurring my words. But anyway, boys, the time has come. We gotta talk about this Colby Covington video that I made. Because boy, oh boy, there has been some opinions being shared in my comments. There's about 50% of the people that agree with me that are like, Trippy, yes, I love it when you make these style of content videos because you speak the truth in them. And then you got the other guys that are mad at what I said and they're coming out to defend Colby. And look, I get it. It's all fun and games until it's your favorite fighter that I'm talking about. But 50% of these guys are mad at what I said, and the other 50% are just looking for attention. And lately, I've been being bad at that lately, because I see the weird comments that these guys leave, and then I feel so baited to respond to them, and I end up doing it. And, it's really bad, and I know I need to get over that, especially if I'm going to keep growing on this channel. I know that that is going to be something that comes with growing. And so pretty much what I'm saying is that these guys, these Spurs that leave weird comments, and I'm not talking about the guys that are respectfully disagreeing with me in my comments. There is a difference between stating your opinion that is different from mine than coming on here being an internet thug. And these guys are internet thugs. So I'm going to just say that real quick. It's not my boys that I'm talking about who disagree with me, that leave respectful disagreements in the comments and be like, Trippy, I disagree with you, here's why. No, I'm not talking about those guys. Those are my boys. I'm talking about the guys who come on and then they weirdly just leave comments. Like one guy said that the reason why I'm picking against Colby is because I'm racist and Colby's a Trump supporter and I'm black. I'm like, dude, like what? Like the levels these guys will stoop just to get a reaction out of you. And so these, like I said, these guys are probably the same guys that go comment weird stuff under fighters' Instagrams after they just suffered a devastating loss or a knockout or anything like that. And they're crying and probably like contemplating to their families whether or not they want to continue doing this. They just took a bunch of damage, and then they got to go to their social media and then just read absolute dog crap in their comments. People just saying horrible things. And it's like Jamal Hill came out and had to defend Johnny Walker because Johnny Walker came out and said that he was getting harassed with these nasty comments. You know what I mean? You guys suck, man. And then my boys will come on and they'll try to defend me, and they'll be like, look, man, and they'll just like debate with these guys and like prove my point. You guys are my boys. You guys are like, you guys come on here and they're like, look, this is what he actually said. But you guys got to understand is that they're probably not coming on to reasonably debate with you guys. A lot of these guys come on here and they're just looking for a reaction, or they're just angry and they're just emotionally typing because I said something about their favorite fighter. But the things I said about Colby Covington were true. I never said anything that was just false. Usman sells more than him. He has. Check Usman's pay-per-view numbers. Masvidal and Usman sell more than Covington. And I know the guys are like, oh, no, how? Colby had the lowest ratings on ESPN's Plus, like for fight nights, UFC fight nights, he had the lowest numbers. It was the lowest watched UFC fight night on ESPN. And Usman, although he was paired together with other stars, sure, I get it, Usman was in two of the biggest fights in 2020 and 2021. And Usman versus Masvidal did 1 million. Usman versus Masvidal 2 did 750,000. While Colby versus Usman only did 700K. So it's a clear difference on who's pulling more numbers. Not to mention, when you go purse by purse, and yes, I actually looked into this, purse by purse, and you see which one of them is getting paid more, Usman gets paid more than Covington, and it's not even close. Like, I seen something like Colby got like 1 something million for this fight that he just had with Usman, and Usman almost got 2 million. It's like Usman's getting paid 700 to 800K more than Colby Covington per night, and it's because he's a champ. It's because he's the champion, and people are now showing up to watch Usman fight, and that's good, man. But anyway, talking about this fight, I do think, actually, despite what the haters are saying, I do think that Colby should beat Jorge Masvidal. I do think Masvidal has a chance, but I just don't think that his style, man. I don't think Masvidal can be aggressive enough to be able to score on Covington like how he needs to win. You know what I mean? In order for Jorge Masvidal to win, he needs to win at least 3 of these 5 rounds. How he does that is by pushing the pace on Covington, backing Covington up, and making Covington get into a scrap with him. And also, obviously, defending the takedowns, which Colby is going to spam. But the way that I see this fight playing out, man, is very similar to Colby's approach against Robbie Lawler. But if Colby comes out trying to fight Masvidal the same way that he fought Usman the second time, being more patient and doing all this, he's going to get caught at a certain moment. He doesn't need to fight like that. He needs to come out and get in his face the same way he did with Robbie, same way he did with Usman, the same way he did with all these guys. He needs to come out and he needs to fight at a pace because Jorge won't be able to keep up with that pace. And eventually he will drown Jorge under it. I don't think he'll finish Jorge. I just think that he'll spam the takedowns, constantly either get them or make Jorge fight to defend them. Jorge's arms will get tired until Jorge eventually completely gets tired, and then, it'll be domination after that. I think it'll be competitive for about 3.5 rounds, and then Colby will start to dominate. And I think Colby will probably win. I'm going to say 49-46 on all the judges' scorecards. It may be a little more lopsided, but I just don't think that it's going to be as exciting as people are trying to make it be. Because the way Colby is going to win is not going to be the most exciting way. He's not going to go in here and get into a slugfest with Masvidal. He's not. I guarantee you he's barely going to strike. It's going to be, strike for a little bit and then just spam a takedown. That's how it's going to be. And the fact that this freaking dude is saying that, if I beat Jorge, I'm going to be right back in line with the title shot. No, you shouldn't be, at least. Nobody wants to see a third fight between you guys, man. Really. I was like, okay, the second fight got me real excited. This third fight, I just clearly see who's the better fighter now. It's like Colby took both approaches to beat Usman, and he couldn't do it. He tried the aggressive, in-your-face, his typical style, striking without the wrestling to beat Usman, and he ended up getting caught. And yes, he rightfully lost that fight. For all the people that are like, early stoppage, Colby got robbed. No, the fight was razor close before that 5th round. It was like 2-2 or something like that. And most of the judges had Usman up. Like it was 3-1 Covington, 3-1 Usman, and then 2-2. And then Usman went out there and dropped Covington twice in that 5th round. And that was probably going to make it a 10-8 round, by the way. Which means that Kamaru Usman was going to win probably 49-47 on the judges' scorecards anyway. Let's just say Mark Goddard didn't stop the fight. And Colby got back up. And they scrapped it out a little bit more. For that last, like a minute left in the fight, he would have lost. He would have lost on the judges' scorecards. And then in the second fight, Colby tried to be more patient, and the big thing was like, oh my gosh, can Colby take Usman down? Colby didn't use any of his wrestling in the first fight. What if Colby mixes it up and be more of a mixed martial artist instead of a kickboxer? And he tried, and then he was a lot more patient, tried to time his shots better, and just, the more measured approach, I guess. Unfortunately, I thought that dealt him the wrong card. I thought that was just a horrible game plan to take it slower. Dude, you're not that... I think he is the better striker, but you're not that much of the better striker. You let Usman control the pace for a majority of that fight. That is not how you should have fought that fight. And yes, I know that I'm just a guy sitting here recording off of a freaking phone and with the microphone in my face. I know that I'm not anything special. What I'm saying is that I thought that Colby went with a weird game plan, is what I'm saying. And it ultimately ended up being too late for him. And he started catching fire in the 4th and 5th rounds, and it was just too late. And yes, Usman won 3-2. Yes, for anybody who is still debating it. Because I can't give Colby Covington an entire round based off of 20 seconds. That little spurt that he had at the end of the 3rd round was like in 25 seconds. I can't give him that round because he had big moments in 25 seconds. They weren't even that big. He tried to take Usman down, and then the takedown is debated. It's like he held Usman down for 0.5 seconds. Usman got back up to his feet, and then that was his moment? Are you serious? That was his big moment in that round, and that won him that round? Okay. But you can't argue with a lot of people, man. The same people that thought Colby won against Usman is probably the same people who are still upset that Francis Ngannou beat Ciryl Gane. You know what I mean? Despite the fact that they're ignoring literally 10 minutes of ground control time. But you know what? That's a different topic for a different time. Anyways, so yeah, it's going to take a lot of energy for Masvidal to beat Covington, man. Unless Colby comes out the same way he fought Usman the second time, then Jorge has a much better chance, especially if Colby is allowing Jorge to advance on him. And aggressive Jorge is a much more dangerous striker than Usman. But I don't think that Colby is going to fight that way. I think that Colby is going to come out and he's going to try and get in Masvidal's face and do what he does. People think the beef is fake. I said I was going to make a video on it, but I thought that it was fake for a little while, up until I saw the little interview that they did and I seen how emotional Jorge was. Now I'm like, okay, I can see that it's a little real. Or at least they really are ticked off at each other and they need to settle it. And that's how I see it, you know. I want Jorge to win. Not because, oh my gosh, I hate Colby. I'm just a bigger fan of Jorge than I am of Colby. But heart says Jorge, brain says Colby. But you know, moving on. Alright, so our first question comes from this guy named Teron Brown, and I just realized I forgot to like your question. So, just know that it got answered in this podcast, I guess. My bad. I'll like it now. Anyways, he asks, Tony Ferguson and Michael Chandler are in the works. Who do you have winning? You know, on paper, that is a horrible matchup for this current version of Tony Ferguson, because Tony Ferguson is a lot more hittable and he's a lot less active on the feet now. And his defensive holes are getting exploited really, really badly in this modern day mixed martial arts. So, it depends on if it's 5 rounds or not. Because Michael Chandler comes out with a heavy pace that he can't keep up with. And he gasses out midway through. So, dude, that is more 50-50 than people think. Tony has yet to be knocked out at lightweight. So, I can't sit here and say that Chandler is going to knock him out. I don't know. I'm going to save Tony Ferguson by a 4th round or 5th round submission. Yes, I do favor Tony in that fight because Tony has the gas tank to stay in Chandler's face. And unlike all these other guys that fight Chandler and gets him tired, Tony will march forward and try to hit you. But this current version of Tony, man, that is the more unpredictable thing, is that if Chandler does get tired, is Tony going to try and push the pace on him? Because it's like Tony is afraid to take damage now. It's like he kind of shies away from punches. So it's like I can see Michael Chandler being extremely tired. And if Michael Chandler lifts up his arm to swing at Ferguson's just going to, like, hop away. You know what I mean? He's not going to try and, like, I don't know, finish the fight. He's not as aggressive as he used to be. So actually, I'm going to go with Michael Chandler. I'm going to go with him on the judges' scorecards. I don't think that he'll be able to finish Tony Ferguson. I think that he'll just be able to win 3 of the 5 rounds. And I think that first or second round will be like a 10-8 round. And so I got Michael Chandler, probably 49-46 on the judges' scorecards. But good question, though. Okay, so our next question comes from a veteran of the channel, Dragon's Rage. He goes, good video. Also, who do you think is the most overrated fighter in the UFC? Ooh, good question. Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley, dude, easily. If I could rank them, it's number 1 being Sean O'Malley, number 2 being Paddy Pimblett, number 3 being Khamzat Chimaev. And fortunately, that is the 3 biggest prospects in the UFC right now. Like, you know, people have got their eyes on them as potential stars. Yeah, man, I think it's Sean. Because although Khamzat Chimaev and Paddy Pimblett are on that list, and I'm going to piss a lot of people off when I say this about Paddy, I don't think Paddy is very good. I watched his debut, the dude got caught, and I think that his striking is just very amateurish. And yes, oh my gosh, I'm going to piss some people off when I say this. Sean O'Malley, although Paddy had his fight in the UFC, we know that Paddy is more so of a ground guy, and he just decided to strike in that fight. Sean O'Malley is a pure striker, and boy, this guy is like a ninja on the feet, and it's very fun to watch. Extremely fast, extremely flashy, very technical. He is a great striker. Yes, those things being said, but we don't know this guy's gas tank. We don't, when the pace is getting pushed, and yes, you say Chris Moutinho was a walking punching bag in that fight, though. He really didn't offer anything back to Sean. We haven't seen this guy fight a wrestler. Imagine this guy fights a wrestler or fights a guy who is like a gangster and is able to take his shots. Could you imagine? Just think about this in your head. Sean O'Malley gets so pumped up about how good he is. Imagine Sean O'Malley versus Merab Divish, whatever his last name is. Merab, the guy that fought Mariah's last. Imagine that fight for Sean O'Malley. Could you just imagine in your head, how would that go? Imagine how Sean O'Malley versus Jose Aldo would go. Imagine, okay, and I'm gonna ask this: who you guys would think would win out of Sean O'Malley and Aljamain Sterling? Okay. Anyways, so that is my point, man. Is that Sean O'Malley has areas in his game where he has been completely not tested. And I get it, yes, he's an up-and-coming star, but you guys talk about him as if he's some type of god. And I'm just saying, man, you guys are saying he's a future champion, all this type of stuff. Maybe. We haven't seen this guy's takedown defense. Neither have we seen him pushed. But, sure, we can just make assumptions based off of him fighting cans, I guess. So, to answer your question, Sean O'Malley. Moving on. So our last question comes from another vet of the channel, Triple R6000, and he asks, thanks for finding the time to upload videos. Hearing your opinions on things is interesting, but dang, I heard they were booing Izzy after the fight, and people are noticing Izzy cringe. Yeah, they were booing him. It was kind of divided though. There was some cheers and people were happy to hear him win. There was more Izzy fans than Rob fans in the crowd, but yeah, after that, yeah, people were booing him. And then he goes, I wonder what is your thoughts on Izzy's gyno? Who do you believe is the biggest threat to Olives? And also, happy belated birthday. Thank you, bro. Reading this 13 days later. Anyways, answering your first question, what do I think about Izzy's gyno? Man, I don't know what to think of it. People are saying that he's cheating, and he's cheating the system and all this stuff. I don't think that. Why? Because people are saying that USADA's corrupt and all these weird conspiracy theories about USADA. But dude, people say the weird conspiracy theories about every company. Every successful company, there is some weird conspiracy about them. And so I don't put my trust into that type of stuff. Izzy has been tested something like 21 times by USADA or something like that. And they all have been random. And so I can trust that. I don't think that him and Usman are cheating the system like people keep saying. I don't think that is the case. The gyno, though, I don't know. He said that he doesn't even know what it is, so I'm gonna take his word for it that he doesn't know and it just kind of randomly happened to him. And that he's getting checked out by a doctor to see what it is. Although he never really gave us an update on it. But he said that he didn't know what it is, so I'm gonna trust him on that. So basically, to answer your question, innocent until proven guilty. And then your next question is, who is the biggest threat to Olives? The biggest threat to Olives is either out of Justin Gaethje or Islam Makhachev. Easy. Islam obviously has that different style, that Russian Sambo wrestling style, to take Makhachev down, or take Charlie Olives down and control him for the majority of the fight. And Justin Gaethje has a takedown defense and the power to knock Charlie Oliveira out cold, So it's either out of those two. I'm a lean Justin Gaethje being a harder matchup, but I think it's those two for sure. If he beats those two, I don't think anybody can beat him. So if you guys enjoyed the podcast, let me know in the comments. Once again, if you want your questions featured in the next podcast, leave your questions under this podcast. To know if your question will be answered, I will like your question, and then it will get answered on the next podcast. And I typically answer everything unless it's weird or it's racist or anything crazy. If it's crazy, I'm not going to answer it. So, it's been your boy Trippy, and I'm out, man. And I'll see you in the breakdown and prediction video for Jorge versus Colby tomorrow. And I'm out, man.